This podcast is brought to you by Infinite Resources, a local staffing agency connecting diverse job candidates in central Iowa companies.
Amplified.
Welcome back to Black and Privileged in America podcast, power, love, and money conversations relevant to Black thriving, supported by Infinite Resources. I'm your host, Abena Sankofa. Today in this episode, I am live. We are outside at Minerva's Meadow Farm, and I'll be chatting with a Black farmer again in America's heartland. But first, catch Black and Privileged in America podcast on the Amplified DSM network, on our YouTube channel, and everywhere you listen to podcasts. Today, I'm in community with Hannah Scates Kettler. She and her husband, Curtis Kettler, own Minerva's Meadow Farm. Hannah, welcome to the show.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
I think this is the most beautiful day.
We couldn't have asked for a better day. It's a little warm, but it is worked out. Nice breeze.
One thing I noticed, though, being from Des Moines, from the city, I noticed that the heat there is different than the heat here. We're surrounded by so much concrete that it's like ugly hot.
Yeah, you bake.
Yeah, we bake. And I think we're done. We're overdone. But here, the heat is pleasant. It's not disturbing. So I attribute that to this beautiful farm that you all have.
Thank you. Thank you. It's definitely one of the perks of living out here.
Yeah.
We're not in an oven.
I just appreciate it. When I first pulled up, I learned, in researching for this conversation that you have a lavender farm, and I was so intrigued by that. And I was reminded of the passage in Alice Walker's The Color Purple, of God doesn't want anyone to walk past the color purple and not notice. And so immediately when we arrived on your property, I saw the color purple,
You did, yeah.
The beautiful lavender. So tell me about your inspiration for having a lavender farm.
Yeah. So I'm really glad you asked that question. Well, first off, I should probably say purple is one of my favorite colors. It is my daughter's favorite color. It's like a family color. So the fact that you saw purple first actually means a lot. But the lavender in particular was when we were asking ourselves what we wanted to do with our farm, we knew that, we were interested in cut flowers and gardening and presenting a space and having a space that was really pleasant. One of the things we talked about, though, was that there's really strong limitations when you're growing in the field. When you're growing flowers, you're basically growing from early May if you're lucky, to October, late September, right? The window's really small. But lavender, in addition to being part of that bounty in the high season, can also transition pretty easily to something that can be extended to the rest of the year. So the part of the year when, things aren't growing. So we knew that we wanted to find a product that we were growing that could do that. And lavender was one of those. It presented an opportunity for us to transition the flowers themselves, use the bud and dried and things like that, but also to make essential oils. And so that is something that's much more shelf stable, right, than fresh cut flowers. So it was a pragmatic decision, but it's also just, we positioned it in such a way that you do see it first.
Yeah.
We actually, when the breeze is right, we actually get it. We get to smell it sitting here.
Oh,
which
and
is really nice.
I do.
Yeah.
And that's another thing. I'm thinking, is that what lavender really smells like? Because I'm so used to the fake stuff and the lotions in the store, and coming here, I think if memory serves right, this is the first time I've smelled actual lavender.
Yeah. Well, you should definitely go out there and just rub your hands on it. You'll have it on you for a while.
Myself in that.
You can do that. It's really pleasant. And the cool thing about lavender is there's a lot of different varieties and they all smell different.
Oh.
So it could be like you were smelling, I don't know, a silver mist variety or something.
So you've got many different kinds out there already?
We have, I would say the bulk of what we have now is one variety in particular. It's one that thrives most easily in Iowa. So lavender is a Mediterranean plant. We're not a Mediterranean environment.
We are not.
And so,
although I can say that in the city, we have really great Mediterranean food options.
Oh,
shout out to all of those restaurants whom I won't name, but
get the hook up there. But so they actually have this one variety in particular that does well here, well enough here. And it's a phenomenal variety. We started out with like 5 or 6 different varieties that we were trialing to see which ones grew the best. There were some studies, but it wasn't like, so pervasive that it was established this is the only one that worked in Iowa. So we tried a bunch of them at a time. Lo and behold, the ones they said did thrive the best do thrive the best. But yeah, they all had different smells.
Wonderful. So, I mean, you're a Black woman. I mean, you know that.
Yes, I found that out.
I'm not telling you. When did you find out that you had turned Black? No, just joking. But I mean, you're a Black woman farmer. And to me, that is so powerful. It's such a strong idea. Does your identity as a Black woman farmer influence your practice in any way? I mean, are there particular things you do in your approach to farming that are informed because you're Black?
Yeah, I would say, I mean, it's part of just being, right? But so operating in this space naturally, in the Midwest, in floriculture especially, which is also predominantly white. Although I do have a really great community across the country. Black flower farmers, shout out to them. But yeah, so I mean, it's just part and parcel of the way I operate daily. But the things in terms of like approach to how I grow things and things like that, I think we're really influenced by the just reflection on like being true to where we've come from, how much blood, sweat, and tears went into this ground, from our ancestors, and just being respectful to that. And so all the things that we do here, we do naturally, as natural as we can. We do integrated pest management. We grow. What did he say? We grow our. No, he didn't say grow our bugs.
Oh,
rear bugs.
Rear.
I don't know.
Don't get me to try to say farm terminology.
Yeah.
I will mess it all up. But I think he said rear.
Yeah, my husband's an etymologist, if you will, but he grows the bugs. That's how I'm going to say it.
He grows the bugs.
It's not how it is. So using approaches like that just kind of elevate and complement either natural cycles or support or systems that nature already provides. And then, the name of our farm was actually really intentional.
Yeah, I'm glad you brought that up because I wanted to know who is Minerva?
Yeah.
Who is Minerva?
Oh my goodness. Minerva's many things. I wish my name was Minerva sometimes. I get asked if it was my name. And I'm like, kind of. Anyway, the name Minerva's Meadow came from thinking about, again, the place and the land that we were on. We are in between 2 arms of the Minerva Creek. So there's a Minerva, South and North Minerva Creek that runs. You can see the tree lines here and back there. And so we're in the Minerva watershed. So first and foremost, it was like, let's just name it for the place that it's not me, it's not mine, it's not Hannah's farm. Mm-hmm. It's this place. This allows us to be here. Additionally, I mean, if you know anything about, is it Roman or Greek? Oh my gosh, my friend's going to kill me. So is my mom. Is it Roman? Minerva.
I would have to look that up.
God of knowledge.
Yeah. Wow.
And so it's really powerful that that's also like a powerful female icon as well. And so I'm also a librarian. So knowledge, power, it all came together, right? It's the place, it's the name, it's the space that we inhabit, it's our approach as well.
I think you're the coolest librarian I've ever freaking met. What? She's a librarian and a farmer?
Yeah.
I mean, okay, I love this. So, I mean, gosh, now I'm wondering, what do you think your impact is going to be on the future of Black agriculture as a Black woman who is a freaking librarian, and you're doing this awesome, you've created this awesome oasis in the middle of, I won't say nowhere because we are an hour from the capital city, but just in the middle of somewhere.
Yeah.
We're in the middle of the Minerva
We're State Center.
Yeah, State Center. That's where we are.
Yeah.
What is your impact going to be for Black women, Black girls on farming?
Well, I mean, there's a lot of things that I think I would like to leave behind, I guess. One of the things that I think really resonates with a lot of Black people and Black youth, especially now, is this interest in really affirming who we are, embracing that in a different way.
Yeah.
And that's a movement that I've seen and experienced. And so being part of that and elevating that in spaces that we might not traditionally see ourselves or haven't traditionally seen ourselves in a while. And so, just being in this space, I think makes a difference. But also, providing opportunities, or I would like to have an educational space here one day, and providing that network. I'm working with Todd on the Iowa Farmers of Color conference group. So, working with him on organizing and stuff like that, creating our own space as farmers of color, where we can learn and share knowledge, inviting allies in and things like that. So I think that'll be a lasting legacy too. And that's just really down to connecting people.
It is. I love that. I mean, what has been the most challenging thing for you since you begun? How long have you been doing farming? How long have you farmed lavender and other things?
Our 4th season.
Okay.
Yeah. So we're new. We're baby farmers.
But it doesn't look like a baby operation. It's so peaceful and just beautiful.
It's a family operation for sure.
Wonderful. What's been the biggest challenge you've encountered thus far?
Oh gosh. I mean, it really is those two things. It's the access to information, and I mean the system we work within, right? But there's also just connection. Farming, I believe in general, can be really isolating as a profession. You're here, you're working, you don't leave. I mean, you might, make connections, of course, with your immediate neighbors, but there's a much broader network out there. And then, when you're a Black farmer and perhaps the only Black farmer in your county, then, your network is really dispersed.
True.
And so it can be really isolating just as a profession, but also just as a person of color in the profession as well. And so creating those spaces is really important where we can connect and see each other, learn from each other, etc. So yeah, it really is just like access to information, sharing information, and connecting with folks you feel in community with.
I know you mentioned earlier about the cross-country connections that you have to other black floral designers. I don't know exactly how you stated that, but there's that connection. So what has this connection meant as far as the Iowa Farmers of Color in Iowa, the Cookout today? What has that meant to you? And I ask because when we drove up and people started to join in the festivities, to me, there was this vibe of like a family reunion. When I spoke to one individual, I just pulled her aside and just started chit-chatting with her. She said, no, I don't think many of these people know each other. We're all pretty new to each other. And I couldn't believe it.
Yeah.
Because it felt like community. So what has this particular effort, this work, the Farmers of Color in Iowa, what has that meant to you?
Oh gosh, it's made a huge impact. So we had the first Iowa Farmers of Color conference last December. And that was the first time we saw each other, right?
Face to face.
Face to face.
Wow.
In a space. And there were more than we anticipated, which was wonderful, right? And it was not just Iowa, it was some of the surrounding states.
Sure.
But still, it was it was an amazing experience just to walk in there and be like, I am not alone. I mean, I knew of Todd before, but I was like, that's one, I knew of Schaefer and his support in RCS and him out in Waterloo. Okay, that's two. Like,
that's two.
I mean, I'm on a single hand here.
Yeah.
And that's 2 states already. Like it was one of those things where it's like, I don't know who's out there. I see them, counted for in like the census or whatever, but I don't know where they are or who they are. And so meeting at that conference, meeting at an event like this, in some cases seeing a couple people you've seen now twice, I mean, that does feel a little bit like family at some point. I mean, I've probably seen some of these people more than I've seen some of my family.
Well, speaking of family, you mentioned during the tour that you gave, I mean, you gave a tour of your property and all of the things that you and your husband do. It's really beautiful. I mean, really beautiful. You mentioned that it's an intergenerational effort. This is intergenerational work. So what is it like to work with your parents and to have that bond and to share this experience with your family?
Oh gosh, it is. I feel so lucky to be able to do that. I mean, it was one of those things where I'm very close with my parents and always have been. So it was like we're either going to live near each other in the same house.
Aww.
You know, like I'm gonna see them when I'm older. Like I just knew they were going to be in my life a lot, whether they liked it or not.
I think they probably don't mind. Yeah,
I like to think so. But we all shared this kind of this love for hard work. I think that's one thing, because farming is hard work.
Yeah.
We also really like working together. We might not always work well together, but we like working together, if you know what I mean. It's something about building something together. And that was something that I did when I was a kid with my parents, when they, you know, we would be putting an irrigation system in our front yard or something. We were doing it as a family. Like it was just like, it was a family thing. And so having that, being able to continue that was really, really special, and exciting. And then, you know, once we had kids, it was just like, this is something that I want to also partake in with my children. I want them to also find that joy in just like doing things together. Not like going out and doing things per se, but like creating something together or achieving a goal together or something like that.
And then not only that, but seeing it through, not just planting the seed, but seeing it through till it's completely formed.
Yeah, exactly. So they help seed, they help cut flowers, and they like to bring me little bouquets all the time, which is just blooms cut off plants. Which is not what I want, but it's super cute.
Oh,
so they're already into it.
Yeah,
they're already into it.
That's so cool.
Yeah.
I mean, so, gosh, time is winding up. I have a couple more questions. Let me try to squeeze them all in. You mentioned on the tour also that you have some sustainable practices that you implement. Can you talk a little bit about those?
Yeah. So again, back to just like honoring the space and the place. One of the things that I wasn't really interested in doing was like pumping it full of chemicals.
Yeah.
Or tearing it up year after year after year. And so one of the things we do in our approach here is like we try and do things that are least disturbing, right? So things like no-till. So that's just like we don't till the ground to break it up. We create environments where like the natural organisms like worms can till it up for you. And it's like you're supporting a life cycle and ecosystem that should already be there, and it's doing the work that you just wanted to do faster.
I wish I knew how to do that, because I had a garden 2 years ago, and when I tell you my husband tore that ground up, I mean, he tilled that ground. I felt bad. I'm like, this can't be right.
Yeah,
but that's what we did.
It's fast. It's fast and immediate, right? With the worms, you got to let them grow and make babies and all that kind of stuff. It takes a couple years for them to get going, right?
Wow.
It's
So
a study in
patience.
patience. It's not something I have.
Well, it's paying off.
It is. I have a really great partner who reminds me that I just need to wait a little bit.
Oh, wow. I love that. How can people learn more about your farm? But before I ask you that, do you do the Iowa State Fair at all? Are you going? Are you going to sell some essential oils? What are you doing?
I think we might visit. We might visit this year. We haven't like posted up there at all yet. Okay. I don't know. I'm pretty low key.
Okay.
I just like to, like for events like that, I like to be part of the party.
Yeah.
I don't want to be working.
Not necessarily working. I feel you. I do. I agree with that. Yeah. I'd love to see you out there though. Yeah. I would, in some form or fashion at some point.
Yeah. All right. We'll make sure to go out there one day. We'll do it up. We'll do it up. We do lavender demonstration or something.
Ooh, yeah. Count me in. I'm there.
Distilling lavender.
How can people learn more about Minerva's Meadow Farm?
Yeah. Well, we have a website that has a little bit of information about what we do. We're on socials where I'm not one of those pretty picture kind of posting.
Yeah.
I'm not an influencer either.
Yet. Not yet, but I think you're going to be.
Guess what I'm saying? What you see is real. It's like, this is what it looks like. This is what I'm doing today. Yeah, so I post about our process and things like that. I have a newsletter where I try and do educational things about why I like this flower, the benefits it has, or like things you can do to be creative with the stuff that we make.
Yeah.
How to reuse things. Yeah. We talk about our bugs, all kinds of stuff. So we have a newsletter that we put out. And then we're going to try and do more events like this in the future as well.
Thank you. Thank you. And what's the web address?
minervasmeadow.com.
Wonderful. Hannah Scates Kettler, thank you so much for having us join you all today. It's been a great day at the Iowa Farmers of Color Cookout.
Yeah.
And we like the food. We love the community. We love what you've got going on here. And we can't wait to follow you and see what's next.
Well, thanks for having me and thanks for coming out, y'all. It's been great.
Subscribe, like, and share. Find Black and Privileged in America podcast on www.abenasankofa.com and on www.amplifydsm.com. Stay engaged, stay curious, keep striving. Thanks for listening. Until next time.